at our conference, you know, we've had a real focus on careers as a lever for whole school development and whole school improvement. And this is something that can really help for that as well. And something that we hear a lot of our careers consultants and we talk about at our meetings is how as career leaders, sometimes we feel that we're in a hamster wheel, that there's so much to do and we feel like it's all down to us and there's so many other priorities in the school that it's you know, hard sometimes for careers to have a voice. So by doing an internal leadership review, it can help you showcase what you're doing, and it can also be a chance to get other people involved and hopefully to get more of a whole school approach to that as well. And I think one of my team just put this in the chat, but just to let you know, we are recording this session just for those people that couldn't make it. We will stop recording before we get to questions and answers so that you're free to ask questions. But if you don't want to be on record, then just put your camera off as well. Okay, so in a nutshell, and again, you can go back if you haven't had a chance, there's a film you can look as well. An internal leadership review is part of the careers impact system, and it splits the Gatsby benchmarks in your careers program into 6 themes, as you can see there. So it takes all of these themes in turn. Hold on, got my slides in the wrong order there. So here's an example of a theme, and it's got 4 columns there. I'm not expecting you to be able to see what's on the screen there, but what you do, you speak to all of the people that contribute to careers in the school, all of your key people, so your SLT, your curriculum leads, your careers advisor, your governor for careers if you've got one, your industry partner if you've got one as well, and you think, whereabouts are we for all of these sets of criteria? And you have a discussion, and there's lots of different ways of doing this. You could speak to people separately, or you could get people together in a group, and you make a decision as to where you are. And I had a look at this from when I was at Bedford Academy, actually, thinking how amazing my careers program was then. But I think I would have been, there was a few there where I don't think I would have even made it onto the first column, where there were other areas where I think I would have made progress. So you start to the left of the grid, and the idea is that as your careers program as a school, not you as the individual career lead with what you're doing, as your careers program becomes more mature, you progress from the left of the grid to the right of the grid. So what you're doing with an internal leadership review is you're thinking, right, this is where we are now, and what steps do we need to take to get to the next level? So it can really hopefully be a really good place to start off your strategic plan for careers. And as I said before, get whole school involvement into that as well. So that's just a snapshot of one of the grids, as I was saying. So there's 6 themes that incorporate all of the benchmarks, and you basically go through that, circling or deciding where you're at. And then on Compass Plus, the majority of our schools, over 90% of our schools, are on Compass Plus now. There's a facility there to record your results on Compass Plus, lots of functionality to record and present those results. So if you've got to present to governors or SLT, and you want to do this a couple of times over a year and demonstrate progress, and it helps you remember where you were. So I know we've got some relatively new career leaders or people on a bit of a new journey at the moment. If you're new, then it's a great reason to do this, because it gives you your starting point, and it's quite rewarding to see where you were and how you've got to link to that as well. So the last bit for me about this is, if you want to do an internal leadership review, at the end of these slides that we'll send out later, we've kind of got the nuts and bolts of who you might want to include and a link to the guidance from the CEC on how to do that. But basically, it's deciding who you're going to speak to, whether you're going to speak to people individually. Then you're going to come to a consensus as to where you feel you are on those columns. Then you're going to record it on Compass Plus, and then you're going to start to think of your plan for careers, your rest of this academic year plan, your 3-year plan. And if you want to, there's the opportunity to take part in a peer-to-peer review. Now, some of the feedback we've had about doing this is, oh, well, it didn't give me an action plan at the end of it, which it doesn't, because that's the second part of the careers impact system. So your self-evaluation is that first part of that, Once you've completed an internal leadership review, then as a hub, and you've recorded it on Compass, we will reach out to you and see if you would be interested in taking part in a peer-to-peer review where you can share where you are and what you want to progress on with colleagues from 2 other schools. And then you can help to action plan together as part of that review. Our role in that as a careers hub is we will facilitate that, we will record actions, and we will provide tasty snacks to go along with it to keep you fed and watered while you're there. Okay, so that's the end of my quick whirlwind of our example, and I know we've covered this in other bits and bobs as well. I'm going to pass you over to John there, who's going to share his own slides, because you've got some a bit more up to date, haven't you, John?
I hope so. Let me just see if you can see this okay. So give me a second. Is that coming through okay, Mandy?
Yeah, I can see that.
Amazing, amazing, great. Well, thank you for inviting me along today, and it's great to see a number of faces actually that are recognised from the career leader training that I did with ISEGS very recently. So I'm just going to be talking more around 2 things really. So one is about well, quality assuring your careers programme, but building on from what Mandy was just talking about there, about the career impact system and the internal leadership review, and really starting to look at, well, how does that relate to the quality and career standards? So what are the similarities, what are the differences, and a little bit of an introduction to the quality and career standard too. So I'm just going to start just by introducing a bit of an infographic there. So I find this helps just to kind of put together what can be quite a confusing landscape, because I'm quite a visual person, I guess. So what we've got here is we've got the learner obviously right in the centre of everything. And I think that's really important to remember, that everything we do is around that. Wrapping the careers programme around each and every young person. And looking that we've then got 2 kind of aspects, one being things like the Gatsby benchmarks and as the inputs. So these are obviously 8 systems that are pretty much ingrained in our brains now, about things that we can put into a program to make sure that we've got the breadth of it. And on the other side is we've got the learning outcomes, the clear intent to implementation and impact, to make sure we know what young people are learning in terms of their knowledge, skills and attitudes along the way. We've then got the whole range of different tools and support that the CEC can provide and the hub can provide, such as Compass and Compass Plus. Also the Future Skills Questionnaire for data from the learners, also more the internal leadership review. And I think that's a really good step forward, because before with Compass, with the quality and career standard, we were hearing the phrases quite a lot around hitting the benchmarks but missing the point a bit. So that's where you can be meeting all the benchmarks or meeting a lot of the benchmarks. But what the internal leadership review will do now is they'll cut through those benchmarks and to make sure that there's a real purpose to what you're doing. And that's brilliant. And then on top of that now, as Mandy was just saying, you'll have access to that peer review, which is facilitated peer discussion with like-minded schools and colleges in your area. And I guess what I'm describing about more today is that kind of like wraparound kind of service. So that's the quality and career standard single national award, and that's where you can get some external validation. So it is like an assessment, but moreover, it's more kind of like consultancy and support, checking through and helping you with your evidence. So I guess it's kind of like, you know, you can talk the talk a bit really. So this is helping you to walk the walk and checking that you can do that okay. And bringing in all these kind of elements along the way. So CDI framework, skills builder partnership, careers and enterprise company, tools and resources, quality and career standard. But it's making sure that young people are developing the right career management skills, and ultimately that throughout all of this, that they're feeling quite career ready. So let's just talk a little bit about similarities and differences for a moment. and then I'll just introduce the standard to you briefly too. So I guess building on the bits in blue at the top there is building on from what Mandy was just talking about, you know, where the impact system and the internal leadership review helps you to be able to see how you're doing against some local and national averages. So you can do that with Compass, and you'll be able to do that with the leadership review to check where others are with you. Like that example Mandy shared about the careers leader on the website, well, that's number one. So how many others are in that particular part? How many others are more towards that right-hand column kind of thing? You can then have that facilitated discussion with food and biscuits and nice and coffee by the sounds of it too, which is great to be able to share with others about your experiences and to develop your own shared action plan for moving forward. So it's developmental. The quality and career standard is also developmental, but we are also judgmental. So at the end of the day, we're making a judgment about whether or not we feel you meet the national standard kind of thing. So just to take that on a little bit more, so we require evidence then to be submitted against the national criteria. So you'll build a portfolio, things like your policy, your program, your internal leadership review will be great evidence for that, your Compass results and data, what you're doing for guidance, all these things, your careers program, will pull together, and what you'll do is you'll submit that, and our trained assessors will go through that and will help you to see if there's any improvements you can make against your evidence kind of thing. We'll also give you at the end of the process, you know, some recommendations, sometimes even requirements about things that you need to be doing to be able to continually improve. As part of the standard, we'll also, most of what we'll be doing on the actual assessment day, so we'll look at all the evidence in the portfolio you submit, but then we'll do an assessment day, and that's where we're pretty much going to be talking to you as career leaders and your SLT, but most of the day, if not 80% of the day, is going to be talking to different groups of learners. And we're doing this to triangulate feedback of impact. So what I mean by that is we can share, we can see how you're getting on with Compass and internal leadership review. We can talk to you about certain questions and things like that too. But also we can feed back to you the kind of things that the learners are saying about their program. And we can check to see if they've got the kind of expected knowledge, skills and attitudes that we'd expect to see in terms of career development at key different transition stages. And that's not us trying to lay down banana skins to get you all to trip up kind of thing. It's helping you to be able to see what's working and what's not quite pulling through. And again, so successful assessment will result in an award kind of thing. So you get your certificate, you get a plaque that you can use in reception or wherever you want to place it. You go onto the national registration of award holders, and you get the opportunity to celebrate with your shareholders too about that, you know, you have been through a system of both internal peer and external validation, which is subject to that scrutiny. So I guess in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say then is it's not really either or, it's going to be both really. So it's about using this as a way to be able to internal leadership review, to be able to get those peers alongside and working with you. But then it's about making sure that you're getting some external validation and feedback on that, and to make sure it's working, and to use it as part of a system to keep continually developing and moving forward with your careers program. So just as a bit of a pull through again, so in the current statutory guidance, the DfE strongly recommends that all schools and colleges work towards the quality and career standard. So the Department for Education and the Careers and Enterprise Company look to make sure that the two work together. So you've got this statement here that's really hoping that it encourages schools and colleges to use the career impact system to get that kind of like confidence, I guess, to go towards that external assessment. So it's kind of using the two together So using the career impact system and the internal leadership review to give you that confidence to go forward. Remember, you don't need to be perfect to get the quality and career standard. It's more engaging with the process to help you continually improve. So from whatever your starting point is, but also recognizing that even when you've got the quality and career standard, why wouldn't you do the internal leadership review? And if you've got an access to peer support that's free, coupled with teas and biscuits and everything, you go for that because it enables you to continually improve as part of the process towards that external development. So let me just finish then just by explaining for those of you that aren't too familiar with the quality and career standard about what it looks like. So this is through our approach. So we're a license of the quality and career standard through our CareerMark brand. And we do things through a two-stage approach. So the first part is that we help you to put together a portfolio. So it's an electronic portfolio, and you'll just pull out all these kind of key parts to your program, and you'll write together a bit of a description about how they're working together. So we're not looking at kind of like death by evidence kind of thing. So we're looking at a maximum of 45, 50 pieces of evidence kind of thing, no more. And also, we don't want you to be writing War and Peace in the description grids because, you know, it's hard for our assessors to be able to, you know, pull out the evidence they need. So we've got like word limits in each section kind of thing. So to encourage you to be quite concise with that. So you pull those things together, you work with our team to help you to gather the evidence and to write the description grids kind of thing. We check that against the national criteria. And then we do that kind of like assessment day where we'll be speaking to you, but mainly speaking to your students to kind of like make sure that all the things that you're doing in your organization is having the right impact for the young people. And we can present that back to you and enable you to continually improve. So we work across four components to the quality and career standard through our CareerMark approach. It's about evidencing to us to start with how you manage your careers provision, how you pull together all the advice and guidance, what about the careers information, and finally, what about career learning? So providing evidence to each of these and just explaining a little bit to each of the component parts, what you're doing. And then there's that assessment day where we make sure that you've got the learners have got the outcomes that you need. Finally, this is just an example then. So this is the management component. It's the biggest one there. And this is just what we're after. So we've got management point 1. It's about national requirements and good practice. The middle column there is telling us all the things that we want from you. The bits in green is where we've got best practice examples that you can develop along the way. And on the right-hand column, you've got the suggested evidence that we might be looking for. And that 1, 2, 3 is, you know, there's no more than like 50 pieces there that are suggestions. You might be able to provide everything in less than that. So you just literally work with this document alongside one that's got blank parts for the middle and the right column, and you just describe what's going on using this as guidance and use the right column to list your evidence. And when you've got that, you submit for an assessment, and our assessors will be in touch to receive your evidence and to work with you to be able to kind of like arrange that assessment day. And that's basically it, really. So I'm going to stop there, Mandy, because, you know, I know there's time for questions and answers later on, but I just wanted to give you that walk through. So I guess just to summarize, it's not and or, it's both. And finally, I guess it's not something necessarily that you need to have the icing on to be able to put the cherry on top. You can engage with it as you're doing your internal leadership review or new into post to try and look at it to see what good looks like. Use the best practice examples to engage with and build your program as you go. When you sign up for it, you get a certificate of commitment that lasts for 2 years that you can put on the website. You can share anywhere to show that you're engaging with the national standard. And then obviously within that time, it's hoped that you'll be able to supersede that and actually have the national award kind of thing. So I'll shut up there. But yeah,
great.
any questions, you know, Mandy will share my contact details anyway if you want to ask anything specific.
Absolutely, will do. And we're going to hear from Joe from a practitioner's perspective next, and then we've allowed the last 10 minutes for the question and answer as well. And just to reiterate what John said about, it was good that you brought up the standard 1 there, John, because we were talking an assessors meeting recently. We were saying about the internal leadership review. Actually, that's a great piece of evidence to submit, whether it's a complete career, whether it's a quality and career standard renewal, and that would be with any provider. Because it's showing that you're looking at how to develop your program, or if you're going for it for the first time, it would really help strengthen, you know, that benchmark 1 and the first element of the quality and career standard as well. So that was great. Okay, so next bit then. So we've heard about a very speedy overview. I appreciate, but you can take your time and read the slides later. And we've heard about some key differences and similarities between both the internal leadership review as part of the careers impact system and the quality and careers standard. So we thought, just to balance that out, it would be really good to hear from a practitioner in our careers hub to speak about kind of why they've decided to get involved with it, and how, you know, the good and the bad and the ugly so far, and any top tips. Is that about right, Joe?
Yep, that sounds about right. I don't have any slides, so I'm just gonna talk you through my experiences, if that's all right. I think I've met a few of you before. I have been a careers leader in a couple of schools, but I'm currently leading careers across Creative Education Trust, which have got quite a few schools locally and within this hub. And we've just started doing our internal leadership reviews. And so what I've been asked to do is really talk about what that was like from my point of view. And first of all, I was a bit daunted because it was very much like, oh God, not another thing, which I know it can feel like as a careers leader, you're being asked to do Compass Plus and you're being asked to report to all kinds of people within schools, and this just feels like something else. Actually, what I found with the internal leadership review is that chance to sit down with colleagues, and I prefer the method of sitting down as a group all at one time. So it seems to work best from my point of view when everyone's had a look at the grids in advance. There's a PDF of them on the Careers and Enterprise Company website. If you share that with everybody first, get them to have a look, and then all come together over a cup of tea and have a group discussion. Because I think as careers leads, we find it very easy to, when we're looking at our own careers program, there's always something else that we want to be doing, and we feel like we are not very good at recognizing what we're doing well. We have a tendency, I think, to mark ourselves down a little bit. So what I found so far with the internal leadership reviews, by involving those other colleagues, they will chip in with, well, what about this? Surely, you know, we're making that element of our work more meaningful. The most recent one I've done, it was the school careers lead. There was me, the enterprise coordinator or careers consultant. We had the SENCO there. We had the PSHE lead there. We had the vice principal who's in charge of quality of education was there. So it's quite a big group. There were 6 or 7 of us sitting around that table. Having the SENCO there was so important, because when we were talking about the extra support that we offer young people who have those extra needs, she was able to describe in quite some detail about what the members of her team were doing, things that the rest of the people around that table weren't fully aware of, and the level of contacts that SENCO has with colleges and independent training providers, and how they keep following up their young people. And so that meant actually on that element of the internal leadership review, we scored it much more higher, sorry, than we perhaps would have done without her being in the room. Similarly, having having a member of SLT, having the vice principal in charge of quality of education, that was really, really helpful, because I think there were some things where he was quite keen to say, oh no, we're doing really, really well in this school. But then the careers consultant and me were able to challenge on that, because we're saying, well, we get loads of people in to speak to our young people. Well, okay, that's great, but is that meaningful? Are you just literally standing someone in a room of students, or have you really thought about it? Have the students had a chance to prepare their questions? Have they had proper time to proper time to reflect on it afterwards? And so we were really able to drill down into what meaningful meant as well, and to be able to challenge the SLT members' quite rosy picture of what was going on in schools, going on in the school, compared to the reality according to those of us on the ground. So it has been really useful. So I think my biggest tip is get as many people involved in that discussion as you possibly can, because it's really interesting and feels more valuable when you've got all of their inputs. Similarly with enterprise advisors and business volunteers, if you can get them to come along, that would be amazing. We haven't managed to do that so far, but I think that would be a really interesting element to add. It is hard work, I'm not going to lie. It feels long. I think so far the longest one that we've done, the discussion took an hour and 45 minutes. It was long, and we were all exhausted afterwards. But actually having that chance to reflect properly, having that chance to talk about what we were going to do to improve each of the 6 areas, it was definitely worth it. And when it comes to reporting to the wider SLT or your governors, so far the internal leadership reviews have been incredibly helpful in doing. So because they like the robustness of it. It feels more robust to me than doing a comparative valuation. Then a comparative valuation is useful, and it's a great chance for individual reflection. But actually, the internal leadership review, because you've involved so many more people, it's broader, it's more robust, and I think when you look at the columns on the grid, they go further and are more challenging than. So it does feel daunting, but actually I think I've been really surprised in how useful and what a positive experience it's been. Those of you who know me know that I can be quite grumpy and quite cynical about being asked to do yet another thing. But actually the internal leadership review has been it's been so helpful and so useful. Yes, it's hard work. It takes a long time. What we did is we had the grid on a screen, like in the classroom, and we just filled it in there and then. So we didn't have to go back to it. We did it all together and we filled it in, and we agreed on which of the 4 columns we were going to be in. And then at the end, you get a nice graph with green and orange arrows on it to tell you what your priorities are. And it does have little links to additional training that you can access as well. Off the back of it, we managed to get a couple of our people who weren't careers leaders or careers advisors to go and do some of those level 6 sort of introductory, the non-accredited career leadership courses. They're like, oh, I'd really like to do that. I'd like to find out more. So that's another kind of byproduct of it, is we know that careers leads can be lonely, but we've found in a couple of schools it's got other people interested, and then you get careers friends in school, and that can only be a good thing because you've got someone else who properly understands what it's like in a school. So yeah. Anything else I've missed, Mandy? I don't know. That was just... You're still on mute, love.
Schoolgirl error. Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you. So yeah, no. And that was nothing. I didn't actually ask Jo to say anything at all on purpose when I asked her to come and talk about it. There was no you need to say this or you need to say this. And one of the reasons, for those of you that do know Jo and have known Jo in a while, is that if Jo didn't think something was particularly good or particularly useful, she wouldn't hold back. I think I'm fair to say in saying that was the case as well. So it has its uses, and we're not sugarcoating it by saying it only takes 5-10 minutes and it's a quick win as well. Yeah. When you click on it on the Compass Plus thing, it says this will take half an hour. How you can have, because some of the I think grid number 1's got like 7 bits to it. So do you think that timing is like to actually, once you've decided, for like for if the people that go about it by going around and asking different people, then it will take half an hour? Because I thought it can't mean half an hour to do it, can it? No. So I've been asking all my careers leaders to allow a 2-hour slot, just so we've got enough time. I haven't made it to the 2 hours yet. We've gone sort of hour and a half. Okay. The 2 hours are there set aside just in case. Yeah. Have you had anybody do it? I'll see if there's any other questions in the chat, actually. Have you had anybody that do it that has thought, no, that it wasn't really useful or not good use of time? Not so far. I have had one who wanted to give themselves a box, every single one. Oh, right. Okay. I think I can think of a million examples why you're in the box yet. It's the same. I have a careers leader who likes to hit 100% on the Compass Plus as well. Okay. Right, I'll unspotlight you. There you go. Stop spotlighting. There we go. Okay. So we've got 10 minutes now for if anyone's got any questions, or if anybody's got anything that they think, hasn't been covered yet, any questions or any reasons or barriers they've come across, anything that doesn't make sense. Like I say, on the slides that I've sent out, I've put a link in the chat to the CEC